Some of the most unbelievable moments broadcast on television come from live TV. When the broadcasters have no way of expecting what is about to happen, they have to think on their feet to make sure their audience doesn't see anything too distressing, and try to find an explanation for the strangest and most mysterious occurrences. Number 5. When ABC presenters arrived at Candlestick Park for the third game of the 1989 World Series, the most unusual thing they could have expected to report on would be one of the players having an off day. Instead, they found themselves at the center of an extraordinary breaking news story. October 17, 1989, was scheduled to be the third in a series of games between the San Francisco Giants and the Oakland Athletics. It was the first time the two local teams had met in the World Series, so it was a pretty big deal. Oakland Athletics had won the first two games in a best-of-7 series, and now the two teams were meeting again at Candlestick Park to see if the San Francisco Giants could turn it around. The game was scheduled to begin at 5:35 p.m. About half an hour before the game was set to start, ABC's build-up began. One of the presenters was commenting on a highlight package of the previous two matches, when all of a sudden something extremely strange began to happen. A roar from the crowd could be heard in the background as the images on screen started to distort. The audio then distorted, and one of the presenters could be heard shouting that they were having an earthquake. His final word was cut off as the audio cut out. For about 15 seconds, there was silence while a standby screen played. Finally, audio resumed, and the presenters were able to assure listeners that they were okay. A 7.2 magnitude earthquake had shook the San Francisco Bay Area for 15 seconds. It cut out most of the power at Candlestick Park and shocked those on the ground. Suddenly, the sports presenters found themselves reporting on one of the biggest breaking news stories they would ever work on. Nobody at the park was hurt, though it could have been much worse. According to one witness, someone had left to get refreshments just before the quake. When they returned to their seat afterward, a boulder was sitting in it. Overall, the park's retrofitting meant it was one of the safest places in the area. Other parts of the city weren't so lucky. 63 people lost their lives, most of them in areas of the city that had been built on top of debris from older earthquakes. Almost 4,000 people were injured. However, the initial estimate of casualties had been 5 times that. In a strange way, the unusual ABC broadcast had actually saved lives. Because the game was such a highly anticipated event, many people had left work early to watch it on television. Others had stayed late at the office to watch with coworkers. The usual 5 p.m. traffic was much lighter. Given the most spectacular damage was to double-decker highways that collapsed, the disaster could have been much more devastating had the game not been scheduled. Number 4. A Nebraska meteorologist was preparing for the morning weather forecast when he spotted something strange floating in the sky above Lincoln. KLKN's tower cam captured live footage of the mysterious object at around 6 a.m. It appeared to be a triangle of flashing light which blinked in an irregular pattern. The meteorologist told viewers that he had no explanation for what the light was, and had never seen anything like it before. This clearly wasn't a regular natural phenomenon like a star or a planet that might be seen in the night sky, but it could be seen for 45 minutes but disappeared when the sun came up. After the broadcast, a viewer called in to say that he'd captured footage of the same object from a different angle. This ruled out the strange blinking light being some kind of lens flare or something on the camera. It was an actual object in the night sky, though what it was remained a mystery. There's an Air Force base located not too far from the site of the mysterious light. The base claimed there were no unaccounted for aircraft in the sky that morning. A hot air balloon was given as an obvious explanation. The shape definitely resembles the structure of a hot air balloon, and it would also explain the flashing, but many have argued the light was too high up for it to be a balloon, and it wouldn't have simply disappeared when daylight came. Another explanation was that the strobe light was projected onto the clouds by farmers to scare away wolves. The story died down without any confirmed explanation for the mysterious object. Whether a balloon, a projection, or something else altogether more mysterious, the unexplained phenomenon was definitely an unbelievable moment to capture on live TV. Number 3. In June of 2007, viewers of Czech TV tuning in to a weather broadcast were faced with a weird and terrifying image caught on live TV. While the host discussed the weather for the upcoming days, a live panoramic shot of the mountains played. Suddenly, the image of the mountains was replaced by a blinding white light. The light slowly faded and a fiery orange mushroom cloud rose from the ground. After the camera had panned past the shot, the footage became distorted and faded into static. Of course, this wasn't what anybody was expecting to see as they drank their morning coffee. Czech TV's phone lines were filled with people calling about what they had seen. Some believed this was the beginning of a nuclear Armageddon, even though if the mushroom cloud had been the result of a nuclear attack, the camera definitely wouldn't have survived for as long as it did. Others thought there may have been a problem with the gas line of some kind. To everybody's relief, neither of these things were the case. The live footage from the mountain range had been replaced with a doctored image. The nuclear blast had been superimposed onto a pre-recorded shot and was spliced into the TV channel's footage. It didn't take long for pranksters to come forward. Unlike other TV broadcast intrusions, the people responsible for this hack were keen to get their names out. The intrusion was an art piece by an anonymous collective of activists. The group claimed that they hadn't intended to cause a panic. Instead, the art piece was about highlighting what they thought was media creating a fake reality. They thought if they could put something that was obviously fake on a news show and people believed it to be real, it would show how the media could make anything real. This was years before the phrase fake news was commonplace. 7 members of the collective were arrested and charged with spreading false information, but in the end they were found not guilty. Their strange TV moment also earned them an award from the Czech National Gallery. Number 2. The Olympics is always the biggest television event when it comes around every 4 years, with millions of people around the world watching some of the greatest sports stars at their very best. It's also a time when the unexpected can happen, when athletes that have never been in the spotlight before suddenly amaze everyone on the world stage. When Vanderlei de Lima started the marathon during the 2004 Olympics in Athens, nobody expected much from him. Certainly nobody had him as their favorite to win. So it was a shock to most people watching live and at home when the Brazilian long-distance runner took the lead at the 13-mile mark. No Brazilian athlete had won the event, and he was aiming to become the first. De Lima gradually edged out a lead over his fellow competitors, and when he entered the final 4 miles, he had a lead of about 30 seconds. Then the strangest and most unexpected event to happen at the Olympics in decades occurred. De Lima was running on a stretch of road with crowds cheering him on either side, and a cameraman riding a motorbike ahead of him. Around the world, people watched on live TV as a strange man ran at De Lima, pushing him into the crowds on the other side. Other members of the crowd rushed to pull the intruder away. The incident only lasted 10 seconds, and De Lima was able to start running again. But it was enough to become one of the strangest incidents ever seen on live TV. The intruder was a man named Cornelius Haran. Haran was a defrocked priest and a controversial figure. He traveled around Europe as a one-man protest with some extremely strange views. According to him, he hadn't attended the Olympics with plans to do anything too dramatic, but he was there in his strange outfit of a green beret, vest, and kilt to stand out from the crowd. He was preaching about the end of the world and the second coming of Christ when he got a sudden urge to interrupt the event and run at De Lima. Haran was taken to prison while De Lima finished the marathon in third. De Lima's rhythm had been thrown off by the tackle, and even though he still had a large advantage when he started running again, his mind wasn't in the right place. Strangely, this wasn't even the first major stunt Haran had pulled. A year earlier, wearing the same outfit, he managed to jump the barriers and run onto the track at the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. In another strange event broadcast on live TV, He had danced in the middle of the track while cars raced past, having to swerve to avoid him. The race was neutralized, so none of the cars were going at full speed, but it was still extremely dangerous. Once it was safe to do so, a marshal ran on the track and dragged him off. He spent 2 months in jail for that intrusion, but it seemed he hadn't learned his lesson. Number 1. In August of 2021, an Australian news channel found itself the subject of a strange news story when a mysterious figure appeared to intrude its program. ABC news anchor Yvonne Young was introducing a story about police animals when a strange clip cut into the live TV program. There seemed to be a technical problem when the feed cut to a clip of 3 police officers, but the only audio that could be heard was the sound of traffic. The image changed again, this time to the inside of a strangely lit room that was covered with a red light. A man in a dark cloak lifted his hands over his head before saying "Hail Satan." To his left was an upside-down cross, while on his right was another figure in a strange outfit and a third sitting at a keyboard. The news story the presenter had been introducing was about making it a crime to harm police animals. Obviously, the satanic clip had nothing to do with the story. The strange and mysterious clip lasted only a few seconds before the feed cut back to the news anchor, who quickly moved on to the next story. However, the audience at home couldn't move on. The mysterious figure scared many viewers, while others thought this was proof of a conspiracy theory involving Satanism and the left-wing media. The clip soon went viral on social media, with many speculating about what this could mean. People believed it was too perfect of a clip for it to have been an accident. In reality, an accident was all it was. The news program had previously run a story about the Noosa Temple of Satan, who believed Satanists should be able to teach their religion in schools. The clip of the figure in the dark robe was actually from one of the temple's live broadcasts that had taken place the year before, and was used as additional footage for the previous news story. Someone had accidentally switched to the wrong clip when changing between footage of the police story. ABC tried to explain the situation. Most people accepted the incident, but that didn't stop some conspiracy theorists, especially after the Noosa Temple Twitter replied to the clip with the phrase "Satan works in mysterious ways." Even with the explanation, the clip was definitely creepy and one of the strangest things seen on live television. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future uploads. But my name is Ty Knotts, and I'll catch you guys in the next